Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 8 of my podcast, They're Not Mine. This is a podcast series about life with kids through the eyes of an auntie. I actually want to take a minute to thank you for coming along on this journey with me. My hope for this podcast is to provide a platform for you to tell your stories about times with kids that aren't your own. If you're an auntie or an uncle or an adult that has spent crazy times with kids, you might have a sentimental moment, it might be a fabulous weekend away. Love to hear about it. Equally, maybe when you were a kid growing up, there was an adult that was important to you and you'd like to share that story. So stay tuned. I hope to roll out a space that will support these fabulous stories. All right, so let's do a quick previously on so everyone's up to speed of where the story's at so far. Aunty Tan's life is busy. There's now 4 of them. Annie was first, then Ayla, then her brother Caden, and then Talon. Annie is teaching me the joy of the simple things. Ayla, she's teaching me the value of taking risks. Caden, he's teaching me the beauty of curiosity. And Talon, well, he's teaching me the art of negotiation. Now, at this stage in the story, I'm 47 years of age. And I have to say my dreams of becoming a mother are becoming further and further away. So where are we? Yes, it's February 2012 and I'm on morning shift with Talon. He's rocking his Batman pajamas and we've started the day with a full Aunty Tan body hug, both arms, both legs. I love it and I wouldn't have it any other way. Tanya and Guy, well, they're a little busy. Well, actually, Tanya's more busy than Guy. You see, they're at the hospital and their second child has just arrived. I remember a few months earlier and I was having dinner with Tanya, Guy, Talon, and we were having Thai takeout. Oh my God, there's so many T's in that sentence. And I remember Tanya turned to Talon and said, "Have you told Aunty Tan who's coming to live with us next year?" And Talon turned to me and his face was so excited and he said, "My new brother." It was a perfect way to hear this new exciting news. So here we are 6 months later. The day had arrived. Tal and I were having breakfast and while we're eating, we're speculating everything about what this new baby was going to look like. Will he have red hair? Will he have blue eyes? Would he have short legs? Would he have long legs? I mean, on that point, Tal corrected me very quickly. "Aunty Tan, he'll have short legs. He has to fit in Mummy's tummy." I thought the kid had a point. There was logic to that. To be honest, what Tal was really excited about was teaching his new brother his latest and favourite video game. Now, Tal was nearly 4 at this stage, and if you've met a 4-year-old, you'll know patience is work in progress. It's usually as thin as a Lay's potato chip. But every now and then, there's an exception. And it was today when Tal wanted to teach me his favourite video game. So here I am at 47, learning a child's video game, and I got to hand it to Tal. He had the patience of Mother Teresa that day, which was in stark contrast to a few days before when he put both shoes on the wrong feet and screamed like a banshee. There were only a few times he got mildly flustered and said, "No, Aunty Tan, you didn't listen. Watch me again." As a capable career woman, I found this incredibly humbling. So here we are on the day and it's 8:30 a.m. and we're dressed now for preschool. Well, the kid, not me. And my brother walked in the door to share the really exciting news. Riley Kai March had officially arrived. Red hair, blue eyes and 10 toes and 10 fingers. Talon was jumping around excitedly and I looked at my brother and he had tears in his eyes. I hugged and squeezed him tight. We were so excited. Tanya was doing great. Riley was healthy and we were jumping for joy. I remember asking Tanya while she was pregnant how she felt about having another boy because I knew they were stopping at 2. And her immediate response was, "Look, I just want the baby to be healthy." And then she went on to say, "But there are actually 2 things. One, I'll never be the mother of the bride. I'll be the mother of the groom. And that's marginally behind the mother of the bride. Particularly if they have kids, mother of the bride tends to get that early access to the new baby when they first go home." I immediately got what she meant. And 2, I really hope as the boys grow older, they remember the special days. They remember birthdays. They remember Mother's Day. They remember Father's Day. And I reminded her that's what aunties are for, to remind them. I was eager to get up to the hospital. I wanted to meet Riley, but I also wanted to give Tanya a red-hot minute to recover. So I actually went up the following day in the afternoon, and when I arrived, Mum was there, cuddling her latest grandchild. I congratulated everybody and I waited for my turn. I showed the patience that Talon had shown me the day before, trying to teach me his favourite video game. Eventually my turn came and I got to have a cuddle. I laid him down and like I'd done with the other kids, I unswaddled him. He was beautiful. I mean, he had slightly finer features than Talon and that light reddish fuzz hair. I actually held him up and he delighted us all with that newborn baby scrunch. And that scrunch was a heart winner. And we would soon learn that that was his mode of operandi as he grew. My heart was so full of love and I needed it on this particular day. You see, earlier in the day, I'd received a call that my egg reserve was not promising. So on this particular day, the joy of Riley arriving, I welcomed with open arms and I clung on too tight what was in front of me. Okay, so let me run through some things about Riley at this really early age. Riley was charismatic. I mean, he would give you the toothless smiles that would make your day every day. Riley always knew where the camera was, somehow. Riley was absolutely obsessed with trucks. Every window, every balcony, every car seat was like a temporary watchman's tower, scouting for trucks. If you were within 2 blocks square, you would know when he had spotted a truck. He'd be crying out, "Truck, truck, 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 truck." Is this getting annoying? Try living with it in the morning.
Hi, Aunty Tan.
Show me your truck. What's that truck's name?
Show me.
That kid somehow would always find the spotlight. And Riley had a knack for sports. Even down the track at the age of 2, he would drag his mum into the back lane at 6:30 in the morning to play cricket. If there was any chance to catch a ball or bounce a ball, it was on like Donkey Kong. You know, it didn't surprise me that Riley had the knack for sports. I mean, Guy, his dad, was also athletic and played a lot of sports growing up. My dad, Riley's grandfather, also was good at sport. He played cricket, he played regional rugby union during his college days. I mean, he even coached my netball team. I don't think he even knew all the rules, but he loved sports, and so would Riley. In most cases, adventures with Riley also meant adventures with Talon. Now, there was 4 years difference in age between the two of them, which is a solid number of years. I mean, you ask any Olympic athlete. But they generally got on well. I mean, that said, there was a healthy competitive spirit between them. Some days it was trips to the Surrey Hills Library, drawing pictures and reading books, and both boys would insist on wearing their hats inside. I mean, that's Aussie kids, right? They wear hats everywhere. Some days we would explore the streets of Newtown in our pyjamas before breakfast, looking for dragons and fairies. Again, that competitive spirit would show up. One of them would declare they've found a fairy first. The other one would immediately up the ante and say, "Well, I've found 2. And some days were milkshakes and a visit to the big park in Crown Street or the smaller park in Arthur Street. It depended and swayed on whether I'd had enough sleep or not. There'd be moments, I would admit now, that I would tell the kids, "Oh, the big park's closed today, we can't go there." That wasn't quite true. Sorry about that, kids. I would like to think if Riley and Talon were asked, "When you think of Aunty Tan, what do you think of?" I think they both say adventures. Talon would say the aquarium, and they both, without hesitation, would say Kennards Storage. Okay, I have to share this. Now, this is a couple of years after Riley was born, and I would make a big move overseas. That story is yet to come. And at the time, I put all my belongings in Kennards Storage, the orange sheds. After I'd made the move, I was on a return trip to Australia, and the time had come to actually now sort through all my belongings. So Riley and Talon would join me in our own version of trash or treasure as I started to categorise my belongings into keep, chuck, or family help yourself. I have to say the boys were more devoted to trolley races up and down the aisles. Well, actually it wasn't races, it was more 6-year-old Talon pushing 2-year-old Riley up and down really fast, trying to scare the hell out of him. I guess it was his way of reminding him, as firstborn, he ruled the roost. I must have dragged those kids to the storage sheds 5 to 6 times. And it was always under the guise of, who wants to come for an adventure with Aunty Tan? Now, after a couple of visits, Tal clued in and he said, well, as long as it doesn't mean we're going to those orange sheds, Aunty Tan. To which I would respond, well, what if the trip to the orange sheds was followed by a hamburger and hot chips? I mean, let's be honest, who doesn't need a little bribery to go to a storage warehouse at the best of times? We were coming to the end of the clean out and I was down to the last 2 boxes of my CD collection. Now, this had been built over 20 years. It was everything from Phantom of the Opera, double album, to The Police, Zenyatta Mondatta, to the soundtrack of Love Actually. And I had hit decision fatigue. I didn't know what to do with these CDs. And Tal, he just looked at me and said, why don't you chuck them, Aunty Tan? And then it dawned on me. He was right. We'd just chucked the CD player. And without a thought, I threw all the CDs into the rubbish bin. Why did I listen to a 6-year-old? I started to cry. Look, it wasn't about the CDs. I mean, yes, I'd get upset about those in months to come. But here I was standing in an empty orange shed. My life at Surrey Hills was coming to an end. Look, I was happy with my big move overseas, but it was all now really starting to feel final. In that moment, Riley walked over and held my hand. And then Tal looked up and said, oh, for goodness sake, Aunty Tan, it's just an empty shed. What are you crying about? Over the years, all the kids have learnt that Aunty Tan is a crier. I'd like to think I was teaching them how to be emotionally available. But over these years, these kids have also taught me a lot of things. 1, a Batman shirt cannot be worn with Spider-Man pants. 2, kids will adopt that universal aeroplane brace position with their head between their legs when their bum needs adult-assisted wiping after doing their business. And they will hold that position until they've been given full clearance. 3, do not give dark chocolate ice cream to children. It contains caffeine and they will not sleep. 4, when meeting with a friend while looking after a child, do not expect any story to be told in its entirety, ever. 5, kids have a supernatural sense for your anxiety. If you're missing their dummy, they have a way, they'll sniff out your concern for the missing item and they will find that right time for a very public meltdown. 6, some kids will prefer photos with animal statues over real animals at a very expensive zoo. 7, when reading at story time, never, ever skip over lines in a book. They will notice and you will be forced to go back to the beginning. 8, if one was to lock the children in the car, they'll think it's a game and not let you back in for 45 minutes. 9, when you go through a breakup, even if you're trying to hide it, the kids will sense it and they will want to make you happy again. And 10, even if they're not mine, I love them like they are. With Riley's birth, they're all here now, and there's 5 of them. The cousin clan was complete, and the family felt whole. I remember Christmas 2012. We had the charismatic Riley, but no Noni. Life as we know it was changing. It was our first Christmas without Noni, our first Christmas without her fruitcake. Tanya and Guy generously took on the Christmas hosting duties and worked a miracle, creating a space for all of us in what would typically only hold half the head count. The food was passed around, white and coloured, and the wine flowed. It was full of trestle tables, Christmas paper tablecloths and tinsel, all held together with masking tape. It was a wonderful day and a joy to have all the kids around the table. And now we were back to 3 generations. Look, following great family days like this, it made me realise it was time. I knew that if I really had any chance of having a child, I had to ramp up my efforts, even if it meant having the child on my own. Look, I want to share. I mean, during this time, I certainly dated. I had boyfriends. This wasn't like the Sahara Desert of dating for me, but none of them were the one. So this is where I was, and I couldn't let another birthday fly past. I was already in my geriatric childbearing years, that charming term used by the medical industry. So some caveats before I continue. This was my journey. I use humour. It's my way of dealing with it, but I don't for a minute want to come across insensitive to other people's struggles. And during this time, I worked with a fertility counsellor. She was generous and kind and patient while I window shopped, for want of better words, down Fifth Avenue of wannabe mothers, remembering this was not my plan A. Possibility 1, sperm donor services. I thought I could look at using my limited egg supply, and so I started to browse websites. It was less like eHarmony and more like eswimmers.com. There's a lot to consider, I guess, when you're picking your swimmer. Do they have a good education? How tall are they? How tall would I like? What colour hair? Well, red hair would be great. In fact, if I'm putting an order together, have they got a good jawline? That'd go a long way. During this time, I also underwent tests to gauge the likelihood that if I went down this path with this tall, red-haired, well-educated, good jawline, that I would even fall pregnant. I discovered my hormone levels were really low and it was going to be hard to conceive. I did not pursue this possibility. Possibility 2, International Fertility Clinic. I spoke to a Spanish fertility clinic who provide both eggs and sperm. Now I'm really outsourcing things. I thought I could go to Spain. That wouldn't be such a bad thing. However, it became clear that they didn't really gather a lot of medical history from their donors. And that kind of felt important for me for a lifelong commitment of a child and its health. I didn't pursue this possibility. Possibility 3, surrogacy. Surrogacy is a funny thing. I mean, you're ultimately leasing somebody's uterus for nearly 12 months. I thought rent in Sydney was high until I learned the costs of a baby growing 4x4-inch home. Hearing now that it was getting harder for me to carry the baby myself, I thought maybe this was a consideration. So I thought I'd look into this possibility while I was visiting my close friend Jody in the US. Jody and I researched agencies and the first video call was set up. Jody still recalls 1 minute out from this pivotal call, I suddenly become fixated on cleaning the bathroom. I can remember being in the bathroom thinking, what the hell am I doing, as I'm spot cleaning the basin? So I took the Zoom call and I also took a deep breath. The camera came on and this woman appeared. It looked like she was sitting in the back of a trailer and she had bright red hair with a decent grey regrowth. And at one stage she was asking me what I thought were totally unrelated questions, like what was my favourite colour? What books did I like to read? Did I drink alcohol? I'm thinking, well, after this call I'm going to pour myself one. Look, my anxiety levels were high. This was foreign and obviously I was completely out of my comfort zone. Jody reassured me later on the woman wasn't sitting in a trailer and I had no right to comment on her hair colour. But I guess for something like this, it wasn't my expectation. What was I expecting? I don't know, maybe a corporate office and a woman wearing a blazer and pearls. Look, this call wasn't even the most nerve-wracking part. It was learning that I could have been exposed to additional costs if something happened and it prevented the biological mother from returning to work. I couldn't afford a baby and a 25-year-old woman. Was I really prepared or able to spend $120,000 US to get this show on the road? I did not pursue this possibility. Possibility 4, the suggested not going to happen options. Adoption. As a single woman, my chances felt like I was sitting in the motor registry and the number on the screen is 6 and I'm holding the ticket and my number's 173. It was never going to happen. Fostering. I wouldn't have been able to hand the child back. Advertising for donors. How? Where? Local classifieds? And then finally, my favourite. Use Brett's sperm. Yep, my brother-in-law. Trina had kindly offered this over dinner one night. Look, Brett was sitting there, but I don't know how much discussion had actually gone on before this generous offer was made. Remember in episode 1, I talked about how our family is always there for each other. Trina and Brett, I love you for the generous offer, but it wasn't for me. So I began to let go of the dream of my own child, which was tougher than I thought, but not surprising to people like my mum. She had seen my fascination with babies from a very young age. I knew she felt it with me. At least the romantic dream was still alive, and it wouldn't disappoint when it would eventually come. But that's a story for another time. For now, there is a big cousins holiday that is about to take place. I hope you join me for episode 9 of They're Not Mine.